Hi everyone, welcome to Chalchitra Talks. मेरा नाम वाणी है and in this episode I want to recommend to you 5 books that will actually help expand your knowledge. But before I get into this video, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends at Shunya who are doing an amazing job of creating some exceptionally healthy and refreshing drinks. I quite recently checked out their Zappy Apple, which is not only very refreshing and tasty, but it is also packed with vitamins. So do check them out. We've shared the link to their websites and the social media handles in the description below. Please show them some love because they're doing some amazing job. And you can also use the code CHALCHIT10 to avail 10% discount from their website. Coming back to the video, I want to recommend to you 5 books that have helped me find my interest in a lot of things. And these subjects really differ from geography to psychology to philosophy and economics and even writing for that fact. This list is not exhaustive, and if you have any suggestions, please comment down below. The first book that I actually want to talk to you about is a book that you would have seen everywhere in all the bookstores. And this is a book that has sold millions of copies. And I was not going to pick it up. I wouldn't have picked it up had my friend not pushed it on me. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And the reason why I never wanted to read this was because I thought it's another clickbait title. But I was so happy when I was proven wrong because this is a gem of a book. There's a reason why it was first published in 1937, but it is still so relevant. The author takes you through so many things in life, so many ups and downs that you deal with people in life, that you will actually start to acknowledge people around you and you will also start treating them properly. This book will actually affect your relationships in such a positive light. You will learn how to argue, how to criticize, how to give feedback to people, how to be a proper guest. And there are certain things that you'll realize we absolutely never think about, but they hold so much value. The second book that I want to talk to you about is called The Fourth Turning, which has been written by William Strauss and Neil Howe. And this book will change the way you look at the world around you, and it will change the way you look at yourself. The concept is very basic. Every 80 years, something big happens that changes the way we go through life. And these 80 years are defined by 4 generations or turnings. The first turning is called the high, and it's defined by people who are primarily heroes. The second turning is called the awakening, which is called the age of the artists. The third turning is called the reawakening, and the fourth turning is called the crisis, which is defined by nomads. And even though this book is primarily defined by American history and the American way of living, you will be able to draw very clear parallels. Once you read this book, you will be able to sort of establish why so many millennials and Gen Z are not able to cope up with the way the world is changing. There is so much crisis, chaos, and confusion and frustration because people are just discovering themselves. And you will find the reason in this book. This book also offers to you the solution for the crisis that we are facing at this moment and how to deal with it not only as a society but also individually. And I'm still reading this book and it has just changed the way I have been looking at people around me and their responses to whatever happens in the world. The third book that I want to recommend to you is The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. And this is a book that probably a lot of you have already read, and if not, at least heard about it. This is one of the most famous spiritual fictions to be ever written, and it is so timeless. The commentaries on life, love, relationships, loss, children, family. This book sums it up in such a beautiful way. And I have particularly seen on multiple occasions when I'm confused about certain something, I always tend to pick up a book. And every time I pick up Prophet, I come back with a new understanding of one layer of life. My particular favorites are loss and sorrow. And I think it's very important to understand where sorrow is coming from in this book. It helps you understand your spirit better. And even though it's spiritual fiction, it was written a long time ago, and I don't know why a lot of people regard it as something that is religious. It doesn't deal with any particular religion. It talks about spiritualism, it talks about life, how you go through life, how you navigate life and your emotions while you're at it, how you deal with joy and sorrow and goodbyes. So do pick this book up if you haven't picked it up already, because This is one of the most brilliant pieces ever written, and this is a must read for everyone. The fourth book that I want to talk to you about today is called Why I Write, which is an essay by George Orwell. I have spoken a lot about Deborah Levy's Things I Don't Want to Know, which is a feminist reply to George Orwell's Why I Write. And that book is also beautiful. I always find a plug-in for that book because I'm so obsessed with Deborah Levy. But Why I Write is a beautiful piece of text by George Orwell. It's an essay of sorts. And he talks to you about his motivations to write, why he started writing. He talks to you about political language. He talks to you about how people write murders in a way that it terms them respectable. He makes you question your entire media through this essay. And it's one of the most brilliant essays I've ever read. He tells you that the devastation that we are seeing in writing is something that can be addressed and that can be recovered from. But he takes you through small aspects of writing, through the smaller aspects of writing that nobody pays attention to, similes, metaphors, etc. And he takes you through such fine details of writing that you would have otherwise missed out on. He talks to you about how media changes the way we look at circumstances around us. He talks to you about how we are so influenced by the smallest things that we read, from books, novels, fiction, to even advertisements. And there are these small catalysts that frame our personality. And through this book, you will find a new insight into what media is and how every one of us and how every individual who has a mouth is a media house in himself. So do pick up this book because it will obviously influence you to write. It will help you write better, but it will also teach you how to treat your writings and how to treat the writings of other people around you. The last book that I want to recommend to you is something that's related to geography. It's by Tim Marshall and it's called Prisoners of Geography. And this book takes you through 10 maps of the world that basically have defined global politics. You will also find the map for the Indian subcontinent. You will discover why America is the superpower that it is. And there are just so many things that you will learn about the world, about why some ideologies have flourished in some parts of the world and failed in others. It talks to you how all the leaders, about how every individual is constrained by geography. It takes you through the past, present, and it also gives you a brief look at what might happen in the future, but it primarily talks to you about what has happened in the past and how it is shaping your present and eventually your future. People are limited because of the choices that they have to make because of geography eventually, mountain ranges, rivers, etc., and how it has basically defined the political climate of the said region. So do pick up this book. There are so many maps that this book takes you through: India, Pakistan, Japan, Korea. It takes you through Russia. So these were my 5 recommendations to you. I also have a bonus recommendation. This is not something I have actively read, but there are some short stories I've read from the book. And it has made me so interested in science, especially space. It's Cosmo Comics by Italo Calvino. It's one of the favorite books of Vaibhav. And every time he tells me about a short story, I am interested in space. We learned about white holes, black holes, and so many different phenomena that happen. And it's crazy how Italo Calvino picks up one phenomena every time and builds a sci-fi out of it. And it just changes the way you treat celestial bodies around yourself, especially moon. So do pick up Italo Calvino's Cosmo Comics as well if you are interested in sci-fi and space. And these were my 5+1 book recommendations. I hope you liked them. And before I go, I want to tell you that if you like our work, if you like the recommendations that we give to you, do support us on Patreon. You can also become a member of our YouTube community. We have divided our patrons into 3 different categories: Goodfellas, Gladiators, Godfathers. Godfathers are always at the top. They get access to our WhatsApp groups that are dedicated to books, movies, music, and they also get to be a part of our streams. So do support us if you like our work and if you like our recommendations. And I will be back with another recommendation for you in my next episode.